Hello, Falsha Shock, and welcome to episode 26 of the Shortgrass, your Kildare Nationalist sports podcast, where for the next hour or so we are going to bat the breeze and dissect all that moves in Kildare sport, and with particular reference to the GA world in Kildare. I'm Pat Costello, and joining me this week are Jerry McNally, Tommy O'Connell, and Richard Commons. And boy, lads, have we something to talk about this, plenty to talk about. But before we start, let me just say that all of us have been involved in commentaries, in reporting, and whether it be written or audio for the last number of years, for quite a few years. And while we all are supporters of Kildare, and we'll never deny that, we call it as it is, whether that be good, bad, or indifferent. And we have something to say, we will say it without fear or favour in anybody. So in the past week or so, there's been lots of things said about bias and the so-called bias and all of that. But I think those who have taken umbrage need to have a look at themselves, because we will continue, as we have on this podcast, and as we have, whether we write about it or our broadcasters on local radio or whatever, we will still continue to be fair and speak about things as we see them. So that's all I have to say. Ger, last Saturday night in Cedars and Connells Park, Kildare versus Derry, huge anticipation, and you had everything bar a monsoon, but maybe you had that as well. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, after cards galore on Valentine's Day, it was a defeat for Kildare. A narrow one, it might be said.
Yeah, a frustrating one, really, in the end, because, Pat, as you say, like so much seemed to be stacking up in Kildare's favour in the first half, albeit certainly not the weather conditions. It was absolutely miserable in Cedars St. Connells Park. And Tommy, to you guys, anybody who sat out in that terrace for 70 minutes and probably more on Saturday evening, I take my hat off to you, because that was absolutely horrendous. It must have been miserable, freezing cold on that terrace out there. It was cold enough at the back of the stand when we were dry, but yeah, the conditions for the players obviously horrendous. We'll talk about the pitch, I'm sure, as well at some stage as well, because that is definitely an ongoing issue, and the weather is doing the pitch absolutely no favours as well, and certainly it's not conducive to any sort of football, and even certainly not for hurling as well. We've a big hurling game coming up this weekend, and the pitch probably won't have much time to recover. But yeah, all that aside, yeah, it was just disappointing for Kildare to let a real opportunity slip through their hands, because at half time we thought it was set up very nicely indeed for Kildare, and it probably was, bar for 2 goals in the space of 60 seconds, and probably even just the first one. That was what set the ball rolling. And again, frustrating is the word that Cassidy, although it was from a Derry point of view, a wonderful goal and a brilliant finish at the end of a long individual run. From a Kildare point of view, it was just very concerning that he was able to travel so far without a real stiff challenge being laid upon him, and to walk into kind of the heart of the defence and put a shot into the top corner without a significant challenge being laid on him definitely is something that Kildare, I'm sure, we'll be speaking about this week, and something that they need to improve on. But yeah, there was more incidents in the first half than you'd see maybe in some entire league campaigns. It was a crazy game, but yeah, as I said, it was just frustrating that it got away from Kildare in the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about those incidents in a while. But Richard, the headline on one of your pieces is the first 10 minutes in the second half cost us. I seem to recall against Offaly, there was a spell in the second half that almost cost Kildare. Against Westmeath, there was a spell in the second half that did cost Kildare. That was in the O'Byrne Cup final. And really, in the last number of years, there are spells in games that Kildare are caught out by teams running straight down the middle.
Yeah, and I don't know if the timing of the lapses is coincidental or not. Maybe they need to see what they're putting in the tea at half time. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, look, we're a work in progress. Firstly, I'd say it was a fantastic game. And to see Kildare going head to head with a team as experienced as Derry, I know they've been on a losing run, but they snapped that in the bud against Tyrone, and they came in here full of confidence. So I think, given the conditions, fantastic game, and I think we should take plenty of positives out of that. We're a work in progress. We're a very young team. I think particularly defensively, we're a very young team, and I think that showed, and you alluded to it there. We just haven't found the solution to kind of blocking up the middle when people run from deep. And I know, like Brian referenced the first 10 minutes, Brian Flanagan referenced the first 10 minutes of the second half, and obviously that's when the couple of goals went in. But I think the whole way through the second half, by and large, we looked open. And that was partly because I think Derry, let's face it, we'll talk about it, but I think Derry got, let's say, distracted after the Conor Glass sending off, and once we went, what was it, 1-6 to 4 ahead or something. After about 15 minutes, they then seemed to get a little bit distracted and ill-disciplined, and I think at halftime they reset and they came out and they said, "We're going to run at these guys," and I'm sure they were told these guys are weak if you run at them, or they have some flaws there. Sure enough, that's what happened. So I think, look, we've, of all the lines, the half-back line is the one where we have the least experience probably. Currently, we've got obviously a couple of players coming back from injury that will help that. We've lost Highland and David Highland. I think we're seeing the impact of that. But let's be honest, we had this problem last year as well, and we haven't quite resolved it.
And we've had it for the last 4 or 5 years. I think we've spoken about that
that's fair,
on a number of occasions, and on a previous incarnation of this particular podcast. Tommy, despite the defeat, despite the setbacks and all of that, you'd have to say this was a fighting performance by Kildare, which is something that you have to be really, really, I suppose, appreciative of, considering that there were times when people thought Kildare were throwing in the towel too easily in a number of years ago and just couldn't get it right. But the fight is still there, and they were in it right up to the final whistle.
I think we've seen it in every game this year so far, Pat, that they do, whether they're in front and they take the foot off the pedal and then come back again, or whether they come back, like in the Tyrone game. The second half was tough. It was so tough, but at the same time, Derek Irwin had some great chances near the end. Now, I'm not picking on Derek because he's been out for so long, he's had to come back from surgery, but he wanted the ball and he took on those shots. So so at least he wasn't. He wasn't hanging back, winding himself around.
Honest player.
But I mean, those Dara's 2-pointer goes over another point. I mean, I know it's a case of what if, but they were right there. A lot of people are talking about how Derry dominated the second half, and Derry got 2 rapid fire goals at the start, as we all know, and that was the difference. And Flanagan said this in his interviews as well afterwards. Those goals were the difference, but they never let Derry get completely take the piss and go ahead. Now, people say about Kildare having the win in the second half. Well, Derry had the win in the first half and did feck all with it, because that wind was, again, unfortunately, right into my face. But it was genuinely a blizzard for most of the game, and it was going into the corner between the town end and the terrace, and it was just. Even if you were to take it off, you're looking at a ball that has ice coming off it and everything. It's just so difficult. That's why Derry had to cop on the second half to move the ball through the hand, whether you're with the wind or against the wind. But I just think that as Kildare battled right to the very end, Kildare scored 118 in the worst conditions I've ever been at. Yeah. I think the closest might have been, I don't know, maybe a really rotten day up the north or something years ago. But I've never experienced conditions like that, playing or standing on the terrace. It genuinely was absolutely shocking. I couldn't get over the fact that the quality of football wasn't too bad, and the Kildare put together some nice pieces to play, and it just never stopped going. There were lots of negatives there that obviously people will look at, and we will look at. I was saying last week the one thing I didn't want to see was Derry running through the middle. Now, I thought it might have been Conor Glass was the one to do it, but he was happily warming his arse on the bench at that stage. But we have to remember as well that there is more space in this modern game. We do have to remember that. It drives me mental when I watch a game and I see this space that we think Kildare are giving up. But if you watch other supporter groups, and they're all giving out about this all over the country. If a team loses in the National League, you watch their support, watch the comment section on social media. Too much space in the back, people running through the middle, people getting their scores too easy. This is what the GA wanted. The new rules create more space. Now, I know that's a kind of an easy thing to say, because we obviously, the Derry guy should never have got that far. He should have been absolutely melodianed with his shoulder before he even hit the D. But there is going to be space there, and that's why a lot of these scores come about. But as you said, back to the original point, it was a battling performance. People were saying during the week on different forums as well if we do lose against Derry at the weekend, it's how we lose.
Yep.
Now, there's plenty of positives to take out of it. The score they put up, giving away the 2 quick goals is what changed the game. But for a good chunk of the game, especially obviously the first half, how they reacted to having the extra men, they did take advantage of that. People were talking about, obviously, we didn't score this amount or that amount in that period of time. But Kildare got a stranglehold in that game coming up towards half time, and then get the first point, getting the first point in when the second half started as well. But obviously giving up the 2 goals. But it's how we lost. People should be kind of positive enough, because there's so much else to talk about in the match.
I think the other thing is to get within 3 points, given the platform that we had in terms of possession. Like I got some stats in the paper during the week. Like that first half, Derry were down 1 man for 19 minutes and 2 men for a further 10 minutes, and they won 58% of the kickouts in the first half. Like that shouldn't happen, and that's obviously something to look at. But maybe Kieran Nagini might have a view on the randomness of kickouts at the moment. Biggery. But when you've got a platform like that and you still get that close to a Derry team that scored 3 goals, and this is a Derry team that's way more experienced than us.
Yeah,
like
league champions 2 years ago. Yeah.
Richard, I will say as well, just on your stats, and this was something that I was moaning a lot to the lads that were downwind of the snow to me. The kickouts as well. It wasn't they won a lot of dirty ball. Derry, they won a lot of loose ball, but also they got away, especially in the first half, a lot of kicks to a free man between the 45 and the halfway line. Quick, the goalkeeper just head up getting the ball straight away, and those balls were going, and there wasn't a Kildare man around. And that happened a few times in the first half, which I'm sure the lads will analyse as well. That was driving me mad.
What changed though then, lads? Because Keane Burke's kickouts, particularly against Offaly, were pinpoint. They were picking out Dalton or Mackey or Feely or whatever it was, and but just didn't seem to work on this particular night, did you?
Well, without being too disrespectful to Offaly, Derry are a better team than Offaly. You're coming up against a higher standard of opponent, and even without Conor Glass in midfield, like Brendan Rodgers is an outstanding player, and he caused an awful lot of problems. We couldn't get to grips with him, but a lot of the dirty ball was just hoovered up, and Derry were just a little bit hungrier around the middle third, I think, and even for Richard to have those stats when they're down to 12 players for a large spell of the latter part of the first half. They still have that amount of possession and win that amount of ball is a kind of testament to their work. But, we dominated that last 10 minutes of the first half, as you would expect, with an extra 2 players on the field. Albeit we got a very lucky goal that helped us along the way. But, we did make, we kept them scoreless for the last 20 minutes and a half, albeit a lot of that was down to their own issues of losing their focus, or I would say maybe
or 1-6, I think, to their no score in that period. So
I think I said Dalton there. I meant Callum Bolton in that. I was introducing it. But having said that, shining light on the night then was Ben Lopeman. His performance was probably overshadowed by the fact that Kildare lost. But 21 years of age, come away with 10 points in the end, Tommy?
Yeah, 10 points. He really stood up. It was, I was surprised he scored 10 points. I didn't realise my vision. It was tough to see. I thought Owen Cully was having the game of his life. I thought Cully was everywhere. I thought at one stage, I could, even when they turned around, I couldn't see the numbers because the snow was hitting me in the face. I said, "Geez, as Cully is having some game," and there was a guy I was talking on the way out, and he said, "He's having some game. What about Lopeman?" And it's in the first half, and Richard had said it in the paper as well, and obviously people talking about those identical points he scored in the first half, from the same angle. But I think that's a great sign, because that's him getting the ball in that position. I've already done this. I don't even need to look up. Go for it. No second guessing himself, no coming back. I'm delighted to see
2 pointers in the second half. There's two pointers in the second half from the same position as well.
Yeah. Just it's great to see a young, another Kildare player stepping up. Because every week we're talking about another player, and I think again this is another thing that Flanagan said, that Ben will probably be looked at now by Cavan the weekend, so maybe it'll be somebody else's time to shine. So it's brilliant for these lads.
But the ability is there. I suppose we've talked enough about the game itself. What about the incidents then, Ger? David Goff had also the cards ready and available, hail, rain or snow, and it started off around in the 6th minute when he brandished a red for the first time.
Yeah, our good friend and colleague Tommy Callahan wrote a very good piece in his column there. Shouldn't mention, I suppose, the competition, I suppose, but he wrote a very good column and tied it in with Valentine's Day, and even saying the local postman, Shawnee Dewan, who's obviously a referee himself as well, wouldn't be handing out as many cards on Valentine's Day as David Goff was. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm trying to find the words because I was criticising some of the words that I used for the first half by our Derry listeners who were tuned into KFM. But yeah,
weren't they lucky?
Well, they were lucky, but to have it, absolutely. And look, and we were accused of being biased. I have to say, I even think back now. Again, it's hard to remember exactly every word you've used, but I would say my general tone, I was kind of wasn't being biased at all, to be honest. I thought Derry were a disgrace, and this is whatever 4 or 5 days later saying it again. I thought they were an absolute disgrace, their behaviour on and off the field in terms of their management team and the players on the pitch throughout that first half. I don't know if it was their goal or intention to harass the referee from the very start, but certainly once Conor Glass was sent off, they made it their mission to level up the men in the field. And in particular, I would say one player who was on the ground on an occasion before the incident that led to a red card to Alex Byrne. My suspicions kind of from the back of the stand about that incident, I think we're kind of firmed up by certainly the video angle that we've got. I think Alex was very hard done by. I think he's a hearing tomorrow. It'll be very interesting to hear what comes out of that in terms of suspension. We only saw obviously what the video angle that we saw on the Sunday game that the whole country saw, and I think there was overwhelmingly on social media a feeling that Alex Byrne was very hard done by. And David Goff is one of the most experienced referees in the country. I think he's rated #1 referee by most people. He's obviously done All-Ireland finals. And I think it was near impossible for him to referee in the first half because every single decision, he was swarmed around by Derry players. The sideline was going crazy. And the only thing I would say about David Goff is that very, very surprised that he actually didn't come over at least on one occasion, if not more, to the sideline to, they could dish out yellow and red cards now to mentors on the sideline. There's actually punishment on the field, I believe, as well. Isn't that a rule as well?
Yeah,
that was very strange. Yeah, that was. That penalty.
Absolutely numerous occasions for that to have been enforced if the referee saw fit during the first half, and even in the second half, the incident when Harry O'Neill and the goalkeeper collided with a ball when O'Neill was very brave in going for it. Yeah, it was a foul. Probably O'Neill didn't get to the ball, but I mean there was nothing else. But there was mentors nearly on the pitch chasing down the match official and then up and down the line afterwards. So, but then the thing about Derry is that I don't know what happened at the half time, or maybe it was just that they got Alex Byrne dismissed and they got their own 2 players back on, and maybe they were satisfied when it was back to 14v14. But they were a totally different team in the second half, in fairness to them, and they were fully focused on actually playing football. And in the end, they showed what a good side they are. They showed how many good players they have, and they were fully deserving of the win in the end. But yeah, through the first half, when they were in that period of, I would say, deliberately targeting, in particular, Alex Byrne, but maybe Callum Bolton also as well, and they were trying to get some sort of reaction. And in the end, they didn't really get a reaction, but they got what they wanted because they got a key Kildare player sent off, and they had the second half down to 14v14, which is a shame. If it was Alex Byrne, if there was a reaction from Alex Byrne, I would be here saying really disappointed in him because, it was a key moment in the game for Kildare to lose such an important player. But, looking at the video, I really don't think Alex did a huge amount that he should be ashamed of it all. So I think he's very hard done by. And the fact that there was a very similar incident, I think about 5 minutes beforehand in front of the terraces involving the same 2 players when the Derry centre-back was stood up with Alex Byrne and threw himself on the ground looking to get a card shown. I think, it's something that's creeping into the game and it's not nice to see. Derry, I'm sure, just to be fair about it, I'm sure Derry obviously would feel the same about Colin Bolton and Conor Glass. I would say to that, you'd have to see a video from the terrace to completely exonerate Glass. Certainly from the video that was shown again in the Sunday game, it didn't look to be a huge amount in it. But the only thing you could say about that is that the person with the best view in the whole ground of that incident was David Goff. He was 5 yards away looking straight at it, whereas the red card was shown to Alex Byrne. That was on the advice of the linesman. It appears he was the one who was closest by that incident and seemed to pass on the advice, and even the black cards as well obviously were, first of all, with the umpires calling the referee in, and then the black card as well to Doherty was part of that incident. So again, you'd imagine it was the linesman dishing out that advice as well. So I think Goff got the best view of the whole ground of that Glass incident and saw fit to take out the red card.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Richard. The first incident, the red card, that was the referee spotting it right in front of his eyes. But most of the others, including the one involving Alex, it was the intervention of a sideline official who, I suppose, caused the particular discipline to be dished out. But how can you dish out a red to one player and a black to the other, both in the same incident?
Yeah, I didn't quite see what Doherty got the black for. Personally, I don't know.
I'm assuming it was a barge, and he was the one that initially came over. I think after the first Derry player hit the ground, and then he barged Alex in the back. So I presume that was the only incident that I could see in the video that would be warranting a kind of disciplinary action. So Alex was sent to the ground after a shoulder in the back. I presume that was what Doherty got the black for.
Yeah, and I presume in theory Alex was red carded for a strike on McKinless, presumably. I think, to be honest, I think the two red cards were soft enough. From what I saw of them, from the videos I've seen of them, I don't think Glass. You certainly can't see in the video that I've seen. You can't see Glass strike Bolton with any sort of venom at all, if he even struck him at all. I think Callum kind of leaned into him, and he either brushed him aside, or if he did hit him a dig, then fair enough, it's a red card if he even attempted to strike him. But that's not 100% clear to me from the video. And with Alex, I think he just stuck his chest out at the guy, and there's obviously some sniper hanging around on the roof in Newbridge that is a pretty good shot, and poor old McKinless will probably never play again.
Okay, so we leave that to the disciplinary hearings, and we wish Alex the very best of luck in this hearing, and certainly a player that gives it all, and he would be a big loss to Kildare should he receive a one-match ban indeed, or if he should receive more than the one match, which could happen as well. Tommy, positives then from Saturday night before we move on to Sunday next and the meeting in Cavan against Cavan.
I gave you my positives earlier on. I'm going to talk about these red cards as well, because you're not let me get me speaking there. I gave you my positives about the players and the times that they've got in possession.
It's been nice talking to you on this podcast.
There's no way, Pat. I get to play this one. Funnily enough,
the view from the terrace, Tommy. We always have to have it.
Funnily enough, I don't have a problem with the red cards. And the reason I don't have a problem with the red card is because, as the two lads said, they were both soft. And you can see this. You can see soft red cards in any match. And it was what it was. Goff did see the first one. He was looking straight at it. It doesn't take a huge, big belt in the nether regions for you to go down. I think we all know that. But again, as Jared said, the camera angle that we saw didn't look like there was much in it. But Goff did look at it. The second one, we do know there was nothing in it. But we do see red cards given for what looks like could have been a strike, because the linesman saw it, but he's like, that could have been a strike. My issue is McKinless throwing himself to the ground, going to hold his face, then he's like, oh no, hang on now, he I don't want him hitting my face. I'll hold downstairs instead. He didn't know where to hold, screaming and roaring like a child. A Derry team, these northern lads think they're supposed to be, and their fans are the same as well. Good hard football up to north. That's what northern lads do. They're good hard footballers. Bullshit. And him throwing himself to the ground happened exactly the exact same thing happened a couple of minutes beforehand. It happened after that as well. All they wanted was to get Alex Byrne sent off. If not Alex, any other Kildare player. And people will laugh that off and say, yeah, that's what you think, and it's sour grapes and all that. But we were all saying it. I didn't hear the lads commentary in KFM. But I guarantee they referenced it, that it was an absolute disgrace. It went into an absolute farce. Now, if I was a Derry fan, would I be sitting in the bar laughing at the likes of us, having a moment with this? Probably, because the most important thing about it is to get the 2 points. And they did it. And they did it in a kind of a nasty, cynical kind of a way. If that's how you win games and you get the 2 points, if that's how you're going to win All-Irelands, more power to you. But when your players are feigning injury, screaming and roaring and hitting the ground and holding their face and holding everything else and looking to get a lad sent off. And And the goalkeeper in the background who didn't see the incident, turns around, sees his lad on the ground, and comes running at the referee with his arms waving, his arms out wide. He didn't even see it. 4 players coming in from the sideline, all arms waving. All that stuff, Pat. That's the stuff that's irking me more than anything. Because I think any red card can happen for like small little incident. It's this soft stuff.
I'll throw this out to you, lads. I'll be devil's advocate here. Did David Goff have a bad game?
I don't necessarily think so. Do you remember the
I mean, you're saying players were dropping all over the place. You're saying that cards were incorrect. He didn't see this incident. He allowed the sideline to I suppose harass him all the way through. Did he have a bad game?
He gave a red card, so he obviously thought that from his linesman, from the Kildare man, from the linesman's point of view, it was a strike. So he was taking his linesman's opinion, and he was given a red card. I'll agree with Jar what he's got, but that stuff on the line. Why weren't the Kildare line telling the assistant official on the line that only one of them is supposed to be standing up? Why are there 4 lads running around the sideline? So they should have been told that. And yes, you're right, Pat. He should have been all over that as well with Eric Goff.
Yeah.
But referees always are the lightning rod for this, and they're always the ones that get the blame, and ultimately they're the ones that make the decision, and of course their decisions have an impact on the results, so they are generally the center of attention. But players have a responsibility too. If there's so much stuff happening off the ball. I mean, we're focusing on 3 or 4 incidents there that led to red cards, but there's probably 10 other incidents in that first half that you could talk about. There was one, I think, was it Ben Lokeman was down. He had 3 men around him just outside the square, and that was just after the glass red card. I mean, I didn't see the incident, so I can't really say much about it. But for a player to get a black card in a goal mouth in front of 2 umpires, again, maybe he was totally hard done by. I didn't see that one whatsoever. I didn't see a video of it, the Niall Loughlin one. But, to do something in a goal mouth area in front of 2 umpires where you couldn't be any closer to the umpires when you're down a man already, like that's sort of silly stuff. I mean, and then you have a player, as we talked, throwing himself on the ground. Like that just makes things so impossible for referees. And players have a responsibility as well. Management have a responsibility to try and pass on some messages. And, players will do what it takes to win. So you're not expecting some kind of utopia where players are going to be absolute angels. Players will bend rules, they'll break rules, they'll go as far as they're let. But at the same time, if players start throwing themselves to the ground, left, right, and centre, if there's stuff happening off the ball, if there's incidents happening at the same time as the referee is trying to deal with another incident, it's nigh on impossible for a referee. I mean, Goff did fine in the second half when both teams were playing football. The first half was a farce. I mean, it was an absolute joke, and that was because of the way that Derry were, looking to put pressure on the referee, and even the most experienced and one of the strongest referees in the country found that very, very difficult.
I thought these new rules were to ensure that this never happened again. And in fact, to my recollection, I haven't heard of many such incidents where a line, those on the line were doing this, that, and the other. And if they did, then the ball was brought forward 50 meters or whatever it is. That rule, law, whatever you want to call it, seemed to have been not observed on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier on, there was loads of opportunities for and you do that once and then nips the whole thing in the bud. I mean, there was definitely opportunities for David Goff to do that very early on. But, again, he's probably feeling the weight of the pressure. I mean, when you make a big call, maybe the referee, again, on reflection, that very early red card, I mean, that brings an awful lot of pressure on a referee. And as a referee, you'd want to be 100% sure that showing an early red card that you're doing the right thing. And obviously, I'm sure David Goff probably felt that he did. He, as we said, had a great view of that. But once you make that early call, you invite an awful lot of pressure on yourself. But, referees have a lot in their arsenal to kind of combat these sort of things. And I think David Goff probably could have done more to do that in the first half particularly.
And a fourth official, or whatever they call the sideline official, is there obviously to control, because I was watching the previous week, the match against the hurling match between Clare and Kildare. The sideline official on that occasion, if you stepped 2 yards outside of your zone, then he was hammering you. So obviously the sideline official, I don't know who that was, had to take some responsibility to control the sideline, which he didn't seem to do on the night.
Pat, I'm wondering about the appeal as well tomorrow. That it's just, I know nobody can comprehend both red cards being overturned. There's a number one referee in Ireland handed out 2 red cards, no way. But the more I'm thinking about it, there's a reason Goff is number one referee in Ireland. Like, if in Goff's report, he'll probably go on to say, I saw glass hit hit the Kildare player in the nether regions. I will go there because I saw it directly in my eye line. That was a Stonewall red card. Absolutely no way. He will admit to not seeing the Alex Byrne thing because he had to ask his linesman. The linesman, as we saw in the video, was looking directly at it. But now there's video evidence as well as the referee not seeing it. So I think there should be a really good chance of Alex Byrne's red card being rescinded or whatever you want to call it, and Conor Glass has been upheld. And I'm not being biased there. I'm just kind of thinking about it and just laying out in facts. More likely they're both going to be upheld.
I think they're being too logical.
Well, we won't prejudge or anything.
GA politics will come into it.
Yeah.
I will say actually just one more thing on the rules.
I think we have to say that those who sit on the disciplinary committees, they do so with the evidence that's before them, with the report of the referee, and they make the decisions based on that. And I think we have to go by that, and after that, then it's up to teams.
There is a possibility, I think, of videos of different angles maybe that we haven't seen or that haven't been out in the public as well, which we're supposed to have to take into cognizance as well when we do hear the result of these appeals.
Yeah, exactly.
Pat, anyway, there was one more thing, Pat, about a rule that a guy beside me told me that I didn't actually know. Do you remember when Kildare got the side that Feely was bumped when he took a mark and he tried to go and Goff brought it up 50 meters, but then he brought it back. I didn't realize that you can't bring it up 50 meters if it's from a kick out. So if the midfielder goes up and wins a mark from a kick out, and there's an indiscretion,
it's a free from the spot.
It's a free from the spot. You can't bring up 50 meters. And the gentleman beside me, I hope he listens to the podcast, he's at the back of the terrace, and he'll know me because we spoke about it for a bit. The two of them were just casually like, "Yep, that's 100% the rule." They're two Kildare men, and that's just another rule. Because I was ready to launch.
They changed that. No, they changed that in the middle of last season.
Right.
That just shows the pressure that Goff was under because he was bringing that ball up, and it was a key moment in the game because it probably would have been a 2-point effort. You'd imagine Kildare would have moved it back out to take it a 2-point, and it was the linesman on the near side who was then in communication with the referee that obviously said something to him along those lines, you would imagine, and then it was brought back out to the middle of the field for a free kick rather than it would have been a 2-point shot.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, round 4. As in the match round 4, not the fight round 4. Round 4 is on Sunday in Cavan, where Kildare are the visitors. And Jared, this won't be easy either because Cavan had 2 defeats earlier on, very, very late defeats against Cork and against Meath. In fact, almost on the buzzer. And then, but last week, after a good start, they were well and truly beaten by Tyrone. So the confidence won't be high, but still at the same time, they'll want to go out there because they need points.
Yeah, look, we've sat here down through the last couple of months, or certainly the last couple of weeks, kind of targeting games and saying to Kildare, maybe we're looking at home matches and we're hoping that home matches will be the key to Kildare surviving. I can absolutely be sure that Cavan people are doing the exact same, and that the visit of Kildare is one that they are chalking down as a huge game. They have been unlucky, I would say. Certainly that Meath game, I heard a good chunk of the final 15-20 minutes of that game, and it was a game that they very easily could have won. But yeah, this is a huge game. I mean, Kildare could theoretically at the end of Sunday evening could be 5 points ahead of Cavan, or there could be 1 point between the sides. So I mean, it's a huge difference. It's a huge gap. If Kildare win on Sunday, then I won't say completely assured of avoiding relegation, but we're 90% there. Whereas defeat, really puts us back into the mix and puts a lot of pressure on those final 3 rounds. So it's a massive game, massive game, and the loss of Alex Byrne potentially is a huge blow because even I think we sorely missed him in the second half there on Saturday. We would have missed any player being down to 14 men, but the fact that it was Alex as well was a real blow because I thought he was outstanding in the previous round against Offaly and also again against Tyrone. And look, going back to last year as well, he's Kildare's key forward. So look, he'd be a massive loss. And then it'd be very interesting to see how Kildare potentially would cope with Byrne's absence. Kevin Feely started the Tyrone game as a full forward and was only moved out to midfield after Brendan Gibbons was sent off that day against Tyrone. So he maybe would be someone that you put in, but then then you're asked questions about the midfield. I thought we really struggled in midfield, even aside from the kickouts there against Derry and was thankful that Conor Cross wasn't on for longer, because it was hard to imagine what he might have done, because Kildare were second best around the middle of the field. And if you take Feely out of there, what's the options there? Maybe move Colin Bolton back into the midfield area and bring in someone in the half forward line. So there'll be a bit of a headache for Brian Flanagan in terms of that selection if Alex Byrne is unavailable, certainly. But no matter who takes to the field, it's a huge game, and it could be an absolute pivotal game in this Division 2 season.
Richard, Kildare players will not be unfamiliar with the Breffni Park, because they played Sligo there twice, once in the All-Ireland semi-final, once in the All-Ireland final at under 20 level. So they'll be familiar enough with, because it's a big ground, it's a big pitch, and it will be soft.
Familiar, and they, as you say, they've won there, so that's going to give them a boost. They're going to be comfortable enough playing there. Just on that point on who replaces Alex if he doesn't make it, I think Derek Carwin is another one. Yeah. If he's fit enough, and he certainly, to me, he looked fairly sprightly when he came on, as Tommy said. He kind of, once he got on the ball, there was a fair bit of speed in him, and he was certainly taking on those shots. Now whether he can do that for the full 70 minutes this quickly afterwards, I'm not sure, but he's another option to come in there. I suppose the surprising thing against Derry, not going back too much to the Derry game, but again, I think we were struggling at midfield, and it was a little bit surprising maybe that when Feely came off, which was after about 53 minutes, that it was Sam Doran who came on rather than, say, Dara Mangan, who would have given us that height around the middle that we perhaps were missing a little bit of. So it'll be interesting to see what the selection's like this weekend, particularly with the players coming back, with those 4 players coming back from injury, getting some minutes in last week, and maybe 1 or 2 more become available, or those guys are fit to start. So, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly a venue that Kildare won't be afraid of.
Yeah, Tommy, assuming that Alex is available, then do you see many, if any, changes for Sunday? Personnel or style?
I can't see too many changes. I think when you get into the games coming quick and fast like this, you'll only ever see 1 or 2 little changes. James McGrath getting minutes on the field last week was very important. Obviously he's a young man himself. We have to. Sometimes we forget that he is such a young man. When we talk about an inexperienced half back line. But it is a young half back line. But it's a tough half back line. Apart from what Brian Byrne obviously is knocking around out there in the wing as well. But if Alex isn't starting, I could see Dara Corwin starting, because I didn't expect him to look as sharp as he was. I'm not talking about in front of the post, obviously. If he's listening, sorry, Dara, for throwing it back at you. But he did look fit, and it was surprising. One of these lads is just coming back from surgery. Sometimes they give these lads extra weeks and months. Maybe Dara, he obviously recovered well, and he knows his own body. He just wants to hit the ground running, because he's gone through periods like that before where he's had to take a little bit of time out, and then he was slow coming back. I'd like to see him starting again. You saw Neil Flynn back on the bench last week as well. He came on. Sam Doran had a good game a couple of weeks ago against Offaly as well. So there's options there for Alex. Is Alex irreplaceable for the style of player he is and for his influence? Probably. It's like Dara Corwin is one of, if not our best forward. I know, that's it's up for debate, but I just think he is. But Alex brings so much more to the game as not just a forward, so his influence would be huge. I'm going to repeat the same thing, Pat, I say every week, that missing Alex Byrne and missing his presence, I still back the character of these young lads. I really do. I just think they're showing it week in, week out. They're not afraid of anybody. They stood up to that crap from Derry last week as well. Lokeman, Lawler, these lads, they stood up. They didn't take a backward step. When all that pushing and dragging was going on, they weren't being pushed and dragged around. They were standing, they were holding their own with the experienced players. So whatever way the team is announced, I'm fairly happy with where things are going so far, Pat, and that squad, and it'll only get stronger as well.
Obviously, you've spoken there, Richard, about the kick out and winning the kick outs, whether it be your own or the opposition, and that's an area I suppose will have to be addressed in whatever venue that has been used for training this week.
Yeah, and it's, people, when you start talking about kickouts, people assume you're necessarily talking about the goalkeeper, and that's that's
No.
only a small part of the whole kickout situation. Now, we have got Aaron O'Neill back available. He's a slightly different type of goalkeeper, and Brian alluded to that when we asked him, what was the thinking in bringing Aaron back last week. I wonder whether he might try that as a different option. There was a development game there a couple of weeks ago, and that perhaps didn't go as well as they might have liked. So maybe that doesn't happen. But
that would be very harsh on Keane Burke, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah.
As I say, it's not just down to the goalkeeper when kickouts go awry, and again, you'd have to ask, is there a Daramangan option, or something different that we can do around the middle? And again, it's not just catching the ball; it's winning those breaks. I think we alluded to it earlier. Yeah. Derry were ravenous on the breaks, and maybe that's the thing to focus on, is that we've got the right players in and around the ball, and that they're actually getting around the ball when that ball breaks. So it's a multifaceted thing, but you would certainly like to see us at least break even against Cavan to see some improvement, because you're not going to win that many games if you're not getting the platform from possession.
That's right. And we know that the forwards can score and have been scoring, which is something that I suppose has been a difficulty for Kildare in the past. Finally, to the three of you, Kildare can win. Kildare must win, Ger.
Well, I won't go far as say must win, but certainly it will be very much favourable if they do. As I said, if they lose, Cavan certainly will be right back in the mix of staying up, and it would put an awful lot of pressure on those last three games. Albeit Kildare would have two of them at home, but two of them could be, those two home games could be huge against Leinster rivals. Meath going so well, and Louth a little bit like Cavan. They're probably unfortunate not to have a couple more points on the board. So. Yeah, it's a massive game. Yeah, I think Kildare are certainly capable of it, and I agree with Tommy. What he said there in terms of attitude and kind of demeanour of the team. I think they've really shown up well, even in defeat against Derry. And adversity against their own as well. They really did grind it out very well to get a result that night as well. So, yeah, Kildare are well capable of it, but look, it's probably going to come down to the last few minutes of the game. Can Kildare hold their nerve, find the right shot? Brian McLaughlin come up with a huge 2-pointer in Tyrone. We got back to within a point on a couple of occasions there in the second half against Derry, just couldn't get back level. So yeah, there's big moments coming in this game, and hopefully Kildare will have big players to step forward. I mean, Meath are showing with Jack Flynn, they've got a real clutch player like that. He's coming up huge with a couple of match-winning scores in their couple of games so far. So if Kildare could find, somebody like that, if Ben Lokeman can carry on his form, if he's marked out of it, can Owen Cully step up into the breach then as well? Brian McLaughlin again, until he tired, had an excellent game against Derry and continued his wonderful start to the season. So yeah, I think Kildare have the players capable of getting a win, but by no means will it be easy, and Kildare really, really will have to be on the ball to get the victory.
Richard, you'll travel in confidence?
I will travel in. I'll be confident we'll put on a performance, as the lads were saying. The attitude is really good. I think we're, with that's elevated over the last couple of years. The thing that concerns me a bit is this is a huge game for Cavan, because it's not just about staying in Division 2. It's Sam Maguire football at stake for them as well, unless they get to an Ulster final, as you know. So it's not just about the league. They've lost 3 games. They're very inconsistent. It's hard to know what you're going to get out of them. So I'd be a little bit worried about it, but I'm not worried about Kildare performing. I think they've been consistent enough in the 3 games so far, and I'd give them a tentative vote, I think, at this point.
And finally, Tommy, are you behind the town goals or the Bananya goals or the main terrace?
Oh, main terrace. I love Breffni Park, Pat. I genuinely love it. I think it's probably my favourite ground in the country. I've been there a lot over the years. Last time I was there was that ladies relegation semi-final against Donegal, but I was on my own. Lara Gilbert getting the mad yellow card when your one went down screaming and roaring. So it's not just in the men's game, but it's such a wonderful ground, and you saw that day the under-20s. Like, I know we say that Kildare under-20s have won it there. Like, there's a handful of them on this team, and it will, it'll boost them as well, knowing that they've been successful. But it genuinely is. It's a great ground. and it's a footballing ground. I know it's kind of hard to explain it, but it's when you're in a bowl like that, Pat, and you know that when you're going into it and you go up into territory, it's down. It's in the town, but the pitch is down. I know, but it's down in it, and it's just you're looking down in on it. It's an unusual type of ground. I just think it's there for lads just to open up and play football. I saw Cavan play Tyrone last week, and Cavan left goals behind them. I will say that Cavan will be targeting this Kildare defence big time.
They have from the first game.
They will have goals on their radar. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did get a few. To be completely honest with you, I still fancy Kildare, to put up 21, 22, 23 points. That would probably get them over the line, and then keep Cavan down to the kind of the early to mid teens. Just from watching Cavan last week, they're a good team, Pat. They're well balanced. They all look like athletes. They play the ball fast through the middle. They did seem to tire against Tyrone, and Tyrone ran away with it. We don't seem to tire in our games. So that's why I'm hoping Kildare to pull away at the end and win.
That game is at 3:00 on Sunday in Breffni Park, Cavan versus Kildare, and that's in round 4 of the National League Division 2. Jerry, you mentioned it earlier on, how do we solve a problem like Seedles and Conless Park, to coin the song?
Well, it certainly won't be solved before Saturday evening, and the visit of Clare. They might be in for a bit of a shock now when they see the pitch, and I'm sure there's everything that is possible to do in the space of 7 days is being done in Newbridge, and no fault of the ground staff in there who put in a huge amount of time and everything else, but it's just getting such a battering at the moment in terms of the games on it. The weather obviously this winter has been extremely wet, and every pitch in the country is struggling, but Cedar St. Conless Park is a newly laid surface in the last 12, 14 months, and it's been relentless. Grounds do need some sort of rest through the winter months. Cedar St. Conless Park, partly due to the success of our football champions, didn't get that opportunity. There was Salons played an intermediate Leinster final there. It was in the middle of December, and the week later we had the first game of the inter-county season with Kildare taking on Kerry in a challenge game. So first weekend of the year, although it was actually a bit of a false start when the frozen pitch delayed the hurlers' first game. It hasn't got much of a break at all, and again, it's hard to see when it is going to get a break, and that's a real problem, because it's certainly not up to scratch at the moment as an inter-county pitch, an inter-county surface, and particularly so for a hurling match of this magnitude that we've got coming. But unfortunately, that's the situation we're in. I'm sure at some stage, hopefully over the course of the year, maybe after the club season, maybe in between the club and the county season, there might be a 4-week spell or something there that we can get some work done to the pitch. But yeah, in the meantime, not a huge amount that can be done, and unfortunately we just have to make the best of it, but it's not ideal.
Richard, is it danger of being closed and Kildare forced to play home games away? Because it's not getting any better.
I don't know about away. I mean, there could be some games.
You're not called to Carlo again, are we?
No, there could be some games moved to Hawkfield.
No disrespect to my Carlo friends.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, you looked at the pitch in Oma when we were up there for that game. I mean, is Conlets any worse than that? I don't think so. That game went ahead, no problem.
But if you looked at home on Sunday, it looked quite good.
Yeah, it had improved, that's for sure.
But they say the drainage in Cedar St. Conless, there's no problem with that. But obviously, it's the grass.
Yeah,
it's not growing. It can't grow and won't grow.
But I think there's just been too much traffic on it, and it's really only that piece under the stand, where it's obviously not getting the light. And there's obviously not much growing in the grass at the moment anyway. Not a horticulturist by any means, but I think it's not the whole pitch by any means that's problematic. So hopefully they can get it sorted. I mean, there might be talk of some of the later hurling games, maybe ladies games, maybe some of the under-20s and minors when they start playing, that they'll all be in Hawkfield. Who knows? Something. So it needs a rest. I don't know when it's going to get the rest, but it's going to have to get it at some point. But anyway, let's look ahead. Hopefully to Clare playing there on Saturday night, and that might be a bit of a leveler for us at least. I wouldn't knock it for this particular game. I think.
Yeah, keep it going then, Richard. Keep it going then, Richard. That particular game, that's Saturday evening at 6:30. Kildare versus Clare in round 4, is it also, of the National Hurling League. Clare are top, are unbeaten, and obviously Kildare are doing quite well. Put in a huge performance, as you were really thrilled with the performance from Kildare last time out against Antrim, Richard.
Yeah, and really that was, in a way, a more important game probably than this one, in that, no one's really going to expect Kildare, unless, they put in one hell of a performance and Clare have an off day. No one's really going to expect Kildare to get that close to Clare. But the Antrim one was critical in terms of, laying down foundations in Division 1B and, ultimately avoiding relegation and getting another year in it. So, I think anyone who was there would say Kildare stepped up from almost any performance we've seen from them over the last 30, 40 years almost. Maybe the couple of games against Laois, including the Charlton final, would come close last year. But to me, this was Kildare playing with such a confidence and clarity, and their stick work was so good. That it augurs well. Whether they can replicate that against a team like Clare, we saw, we couldn't do it against Dublin. So, Clare are probably the best team in this group. So, let's look for a better performance than we did against Dublin. Maybe a few more scores on the board and try and rattle Clare as much as we can.
But Tommy, and okay, Richard has said there, okay, that performance against Antrim was top drawer, and indeed the matches against Laois. But Kildare have done that in the last year. The first half against Westmeath in particular was outstanding. The match against Carlow, they were outstanding in that as well. They had a couple of blips, obviously, against Down and against Kerry, but the performances are there. They're capable of this, and there's the fact that so many players are back and fit. They should be capable of putting in a similar performance on Saturday evening.
Yeah, they are capable of putting in a similar performance. The big difference needs to be for 70 plus minutes. They took the foot off the pedal against Antrim for 15 to 20 minutes, and they did. We might as well be kind of real about it as much as we were raving about the performance against Antrim, because it was absolutely brilliant at times. The last 15 minutes and 20 minutes petered out, and I want to see Kildare, whether they're playing in matches they go against Antrim or against Down or against Clare, they have to go for 70 plus minutes, and they know that themselves. They have to go right to the very end until the whistle's going. They can't just lay off or slow down or whatever. And they're going to need to do that Saturday night. It's going to be tough. It's going to be horrendously tough. But at the same time, this is what you get for success. This is where you want to be, and you want to be playing against the Clares and the Wexfords. It goes to show you, like, there's gulfs there. You see how well Dublin did when they went down to Ennis, but we saw how strong Dublin were against us. We saw the last day what Clare did to Down. 29 points, was it? That they beat?
Yeah.
Great, mad score. I think Down scored 15 points. Was it 35 to 15 or something like that? But Down scored 15 points, so I can't see the same happening in Kildare, but they really need to be on it, and for their own confidence, because we can see the fixtures there. Like Ballycran is coming around, and then that huge game against Carlow in St. Conleth's Park. So if they are going to lose on Saturday night, and it's always very difficult to speak like this about any Kildare team, when you see a task like that, so difficult. We always try to be positive. We always try to look for even causing a bit of an upset, but it is going to be very difficult. It would have to be a spectacular performance. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was going to say, to refer to Jeb, but go ahead. You were going to finish your point.
No, I was just going to say, but if they can put in that performance, where if they are to lose, to keep that down, nothing like 29, which I think it won't be. Exactly, Pat. Now you keep the momentum going from the Antrim game. Brilliant performance against Antrim. Put up the Clare. Fair play to them. Still bouncing going up to Down, because I have to beat Down. So we'll see how it goes. But it's a brilliant occasion, Pat. And Kildare running is it like a mini Gaeltacht or something there before the match and at half time in the Seaton Lounge as well. So they're trying to promote as much as they can. Great occasion.
On a Waherford. Well, Ger, cool. The goals, they matter in matches like this, and against Dublin, Kildare conceded 2 early goals of the softest variety, but they scored 3 spectacular goals themselves against Antrim. But if they are to win, they do need goals, but they also need to curtail the concession of goals, you would think.
Yeah, they'd be doing well to score better goals than they managed against Antrim. They were 3 goals right at the top drawer for different reasons. Look, in a game against this, when Kildare are obviously massive underdogs, the one thing you can't do is concede an early goal. Kildare conceded 2 against Dublin, and probably then expended a huge amount of energy then chasing the game. So, yeah, Kildare, they need to stay in the game as long as possible. Try not to let Kildare get into a big lead, and maybe break it down into 10-minute blocks. If they can be there. Nothing stupid after 10 minutes, nothing stupid early on. After 20 minutes, if they can get the halftime, then, and just make things as difficult as possible. But look, this Richard talked about a free hit in the Kildare Nationalist this week, and as much as I would generally totally disagree with that term in any league game, I think this is as close as it gets to a free hit, really. If you told me now that Kildare were going to lose by 20 points but beat Down by 1 the following week, I'd snap your hand off for that. The game against Down is the key one. Saturday, it's a wonderful occasion. I mean, like Clare were lifting Lily McCarthy 18 months ago. Who would have thought that we'd be welcoming the All-Ireland champions to play Kildare in a league game 18 months on from Clare lifting the Lily McCarthy Cup? It's a brilliant occasion. It's a brilliant kind of testament to how far Kildare have come over the last number of years. It's fantastic to be welcoming a side of the stature of Clare, and potentially seeing Tony Kelly, somebody of his ability and his standing in the game, maybe running out in St. Collins Park. But ultimately, just get this game out of the way, enjoy it for the occasion that it is, and then focus on the huge game in Ballycran, because that's the one that's going to decide Kildare's season. We're saying the Carlow game in 2 weeks as well could be a massive one. I fancy Carlow to go and beat Antrim at the weekend, and the way Antrim are, and I think Carlow are playing pretty well now under new manager Pat Bennett. If Carlow beat Antrim, they're pretty much assured that game in St. Collins Park could be a dead rubber from their point of view. So I think all the focus is going to be on that Down game. That's the key one in this group for Kildare. So get through Saturday evening without any injuries, without any sendings off, reasonably kind of competitive in terms of the scoreline, and then focus on that trip to Ballycran, because that's the big one.
Yeah, and we hope there's a big crowd there on Saturday evening at 6:30 in St. Collins Park. I know, Jerry, you mentioned Tony Kelly has been an attraction, but I think it's fair to say that there are quite a few Kildare players who would be quite an attraction as well, and the Kildare supporters should be coming out to see the likes of the Bourne brothers and Maurice Curtin and young Paul Dolan and a few of those fellas like that. So
yeah,
I'm
not being disrespectful in any of the Kildare
players. I understand that. Yep.
And anybody who, and I'm saying whatever I'm saying here, the Kildare players will be going out believing that they can beat Clare and doing their utmost to beat Clare on Saturday evening. You can guarantee that. And the one thing that you can be absolutely guaranteed of with this Kildare side is 100% effort. They don't know any other way. And anybody who goes supporting a Kildare team, win, lose, or draw, once you see that on your pitch, you're going to be proud of the team. So anybody who hasn't seen this Kildare team yet, go along on Saturday evening. Even if they're beaten, they'll give it everything. And just to see them playing against a side of the caliber of Clare is fantastic. And to have a game like that on the Newbridge, as I said, it's just a testament to how far Kildare have come over the last few years.
Yeah. And if you can't make it,
they're nailed on, Pat. They're nailed on to create a shock now. And all this will all be clipped, and we'll have egg in our faces next week. Oh, it's a start.
Great. Remember, you heard it first here on the Shortgrass podcast. You heard it here. And as I said, if you just can't get along on Saturday night, I'm sure Seamus Dillon will be bringing a full coverage of that on KFM. I think it's Seamus on duty, Ger.
Yeah, I think I might be beside him as well. So give him my considered opinion as well. So looking forward to this.
The terrible twins are back. The terrible twins are back. But the best of luck to Brian Downing and all the guys there.
Just don't call them Westerners or Southwesterners, right?
Don't open that can of worms.
The Bannermen versus the Lilies. It's the Dubs versus the Lillettes, or whatever you want to call them. Kildare are away to Dublin. I think it's in Balbringan on Sunday in the Ladies Little League Division 1. A big game for them after their loss last time out to Galway and indeed Armagh. Tommy, obviously you've been keeping a close eye on ladies football over the last number of years as well. This is a big one. Dublin are probably at their most weakest, but they are starting to come back a little bit from the fact that they won the All-Ireland just 4 or 5 months ago, maybe a bit longer at this stage, but they're bottom of the pile with 0 points, and Kildare are there on 1. How do you see this one going? We believe it's in Balbringen, and that's on Sunday at 2:00.
Right. I didn't know it was changed. To be honest, obviously,
I think it is Balbringen. Yeah, I think it is
Balbringen.
Balbringen. Yeah.
All right. Very good. There you go. We learned something new. I think I would have researched that before I came on. Here we are. Probably Parnell Park probably needs a break. That's probably another one. That pitch got a good old rattling last year. Obviously, a bit of vandalism as well didn't help. Didn't somebody throw a weed killer on the Parnell Park pitch? But yeah, listen, Pat, it is, and the fact that Dublin are sitting at the bottom with 3 losses means that they are going to be going full hell for leather this weekend for this match. But listen, Kildare put up some really good performances against Dublin last year. It was a while. It took a good few years for them to get back up to that level to get a rattle at them. So it is going to be it's going to be very, very difficult on Sunday. We know what the story is, Pat. Young team, a lot of experienced players after leaving. The last day was difficult against Galway. I just keep thinking that we're going to get back to that Armagh game. The more the matches go on, I really think that was one that they let Armagh into the game too much and let them get a run on them. Again, maybe that was the inexperience of some players who might be in their first year or only their second year.
Probably didn't take their chances. Probably didn't take their chances that day either, Tommy. There were at least 2 goals went to begging that day.
That's exactly it. And Armagh as well they were cute. They were just their game plan was good. As I said, there was echoes of the Kildare plan under Diana O'Hara when they just cut in from the sideline. So difficult to stop. You're either going to get a free or you're going to break the line. Just intelligent play that day by them. Listen, Pat, we know the young players that are there. Alana Prizeman, obviously leading the line. Up top, hopefully now she's fit as well. I know she has been taking a couple of knocks, which she will. I know from over the last couple of years in all sports. She's she's obviously closely watched in any match she plays. So that's if anybody, by the way, I'd say there's a lot of people in Kildare that follow football that haven't seen ladies football in a few years. If anybody does get the opportunity, maybe there's somebody living up that direction, North Kildare, that wants to head to Balbriggan. The likes of Alana and these young Kildare players are genuinely exciting young players, and they're going to be there for a long time. And even though we've lost a lot of experience on the Kildare team, these young players are going to be superstars. So I'm just hoping, Pat, you never know. They're full of confidence all the time. You can see them. You guys have spoken to them in interviews. They're not short of confidence. They're not short of skill and quality. They've had that little break now as well to gather themselves before this game. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not writing them off just yet.
No, and I covered the Armagh Cork game for RT last week, and Cork won that one. And what kept going through my mind as I was watching that was the fact that Kildare had done so well against both teams. I mean, a draw against Cork probably should have won. They lost against Armagh, probably should have won as well. So the Kildare are up there fighting hard against teams like Cork and Armagh, who are experienced, even though Cork come up from Division 2 last year. But it's a very experienced Cork side, a very experienced Armagh side, and here Kildare mixing with the best.
That's what you get, Pat, for before George starts. That's what getting back to the hurlers. This is what you get for success, Pat. This is what you get. When they're in Division 3, we didn't think we were going to be up in Division 2 within a couple of years. They led to Senior Championship, All-Ireland Senior Championship. This is what you get for success, so it should be embraced as well.
Yeah, Jared, I was asking you about that particular one, and Tommy just.
Well, you didn't say it, Jared, straight away. So I thought you were looking at me.
Tommy, I can never stop looking at you.
Carry on, Jared.
Valentine's Day is over there, lads. Now, hang on now.
There you go.
I'm just going to repeat Tommy's point, really. Yeah, like there's such fine margins in the divisions, and I mean it goes right across all the divisions and all the codes. We're talking about Cavan there losing game by a couple of points, and it can have such an impact on the league table. I mean, had Kildare held on for that win against Cork, we'd be on that, the 3 points there. Cork would be back on what a point there as well. So I mean, our 2 points, it'd be a very different looking league table, bar for one swing of the boot and one kick of the ball, and we're talking about the Armagh game that maybe could have went either way in the second half as well. So yeah, look, this Kildare side are competitive. They'll give it everything again, and it's hard to know with Dublin. They've obviously had a horrendous start, and not just to lose their 3 games, but to lose by their 3 games and have a minus 24 score difference is, it's hugely unlike them. Whether they've got players coming back now after that bit of a break since the last match, it remains to be seen. They'd probably be a little bit stronger in terms of their fitness and everything else. So you'd imagine it'll be a little bit more like the old Dublin side that we would expect, and a stiffer proposition for Kildare on Sunday. But whatever Dublin put out, they came to Mangar Park last season, and Kildare recorded a fantastic win. So they'll have confidence going up there again. And I suppose, to use the boring phrase, if they stick to their process, stick to their game plan, they'll have every opportunity of getting a result.
Yeah, and Richard, we can't neglect thinking about the fact that Kildare have lost so many players in the past year. The Ellen Dowlings and the Claire Sullivans and the Nasa Dooley, who else has gone? Grace is not there anymore. And there's a few others, a few injured. Lara Gilbert is injured as well. That's Roisin a huge hole. Roisin Byrne, of course, Roisin's not there either. So, I mean, that's a huge amount of experience that brought them through games last year. Do you think it might have been wise to keep Grace Clifford on there as an impact sub? Richard,
who are you addressing? I want to have a great talk.
Richard,
give me that hot potato.
Yeah. No. I'm only talking about the fact that so many players have gone. That, was that something could have been considered?
Yeah, I mean the indications are she certainly was available and made herself available, and that it was a selectorial decision. So yeah, it's a little bit surprising. There's no question about her experience and her ability. So yeah, as a supporter, and I don't see as many games as Tommy does, so I wouldn't be as forthright maybe on it, but it does look a little bit surprising from the outside, and maybe coming down the stretch, and you look at those 4 mouth-watering games they've got coming up, then that experience could certainly bring something to bear on those.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that game we believe is in Balbriggan. It's on Sunday rather, at 2:00. That's Dublin versus Kildare in the Little Ladies League, and we wish the very best of luck to Pat Sullivan and all the gang there. Leisha Lenihan. No, Leisha's not captain this year. I think, Tommy, it's Ruth Sargent this year. Am I right?
No, Leisha's captain. Yeah,
no, it's Leisha again.
Okay, I saw something where
Ruth is vice captain. Ruth and I think Hazel McLaughlin are vice captains.
Oh, okay. Well, we had a great interview with we had the great interview. Speaking of Ciara, great interview with the Wheelers last Saturday morning, and certainly whatever it might have been frosty outside, but plenty of warmth inside in the hotel, and then had a great conversation with them. They're really up for it, I have to say, and they're looking forward to this game. And as I say, this is where they want to be. And Tommy, you said that already as well. So that's on Sunday. Best of luck to them. The Camogie team.
Sorry, Pat, just before you leave, that interview will be online there by the time this podcast is out. So just anybody who wasn't fortunate enough to read your interview with the 3 Wheeler girls in the newspaper this week, it'll be online there on the Kildare Nationalist website, and certainly worth a read for anybody with any sort of an interest in Kildare GAA. It was a great insight into the sporting lives of the 3 sisters.
Yeah, it certainly is. And 3 very sporting sisters, because they're very good at basketball all the way up as well. And was it Gillian who gave up basketball this year to concentrate fully on the Gaelic football? So, yeah, interesting family.
Pat, sorry, before you move off the ladies, I just wanted to say as well that Kildare LGFA are looking to recruit people onto their communications team. So, PRO kind of stuff as well. So, if there is anybody interested out there, just get in touch. You can get in touch with them through the social media pages.
There you go.
I will say as well, as if there are people out there that do want to get involved at the county level like that through the ladies, I will be offering my services to teach them how to make graphics and different communications tools and skills. If anybody ever needs it, that does want to get involved at that county level with the LGFA. So keep it in mind, if anybody's out there, give Sinead and the rest of them in the LGFA a shout.
Well done indeed, Tommy. And as usual, you You're a man of many parts and a great volunteer, and the GA is lucky to have you. And I was going to finish the ladies' football on the fact that Pat Sullivan is organising, and through the senior team, a race day in Naas Racecourse on the 8th of March. And we'll talk more about that. We might even have a chat with Pat or one of the players next week just to talk about that particular race day. It's a fundraiser, I guess, for the Kildare ladies team. Tommy, I was going to mention the fact, and you might have the team as well, Kildare Camogie didn't have a game last weekend. Seemed to be strange circumstances. They were due to play Roscommon, and unfortunately the match was called off on Roscommon. But there has been some suggestions that when that happens, that the game reverts to the other team if they have pitch available. It didn't happen, it would appear. But now Kildare have hopefully their first outing of the season in Division 3A of the Central Camogie League. That's away to Wicklow on Saturday in... we don't know where it is. I think that's at this stage. Somebody suggests that it could be Auckland, but it may not be Auckland. But that's at 2:00 anyway. Watch out for the Kildare Nationalist website or social channels. They'll tell you where it is definitely on. But Tommy, this is a match against Wicklow, a team that Rob O'Neill, the current Kildare manager, managed last year. So an interesting one.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. It was disappointing last week. No team, by the way, Pat. We're not lucky enough to have the team. We're recording a little bit earlier this week. But once we have that from the Camogie Association, we'll stick it up on all your socials as well and the national pages. But last week it was very disappointing. I think there were mixed messages, mixed communication. I know Kildare got word that the match was postponed, and they were expecting to get the offer from Roscommon to look for alternative ground, and that never came. I don't think, just from talking to a couple of people. So that's disappointing. It's not a good way to start off the league, Pat. You know, new sponsor in the league this year, Centra. Kildare, there's so much positivity around the camp. You know, there's so many new people back involved as well, and then suddenly you're hit with this crap again. Like, I know the weather was bad last weekend, but if everything was done right, then it'd be like they would have just searched every avenue to try to get that match played last week, which is disappointing. But that match is set for the same date actually. It's the 14th of March. That match, so we don't know whether that'll be in Ballyforan or where it'll be. But getting on to this match, Wicklow beat them last year, Pat. I think you remember that game.
Well,
7 points up.
Kildare lost it more so than Wicklow beat them, and I don't mean any disrespect to Wicklow in that regard.
Yeah, 7 points up with 7 minutes to go, and kind of. But again, I for some weird reason, I think it's better that they're still in the division with these teams, because I know there's been a big change in teams, but I think, you know, there's a few kind of lingering thoughts of last year, and that Kildare Camogie didn't show their best foot forward, and that they lost certain games to tight margins. So I think they would have liked to get their hands across Roscommon last week, but Wicklow's up. It is down as Auckland on the official website, on the Camogie website, but I don't know if that's absolutely confirmed yet. It'd be great if they were in Auckland. It is always good to be in the county grounds of a county. In Auckland, we were a lot of us were there for the Athy match, the Athy Bottom last match at the end of last year. It's a great spot. Love Auckland. So then in the following week, then we'll be talking about next week. They have a huge game against Armagh, and that's in Hawkfield the same day as the Meath Kildare doubleheader in Caesar St. Condas Park. Now, there's obviously a really good chance that the ladies' match might be moved to Hawkfield, because if we're being realistic with the weather and if we're trying to mind the pitch, and I think the LGFA will probably be the first people, Pat, to say that they'll gladly go to Hawkfield to save the pitch, because they're going to be looking to play on this during the summer and in the championships. They have a good record in Hawkfield. Pitch 1 in Hawkfield is absolutely brilliant at the moment. So, you know, there's lots of things like that. I think
I think that still would be a very good doubleheader, you know, in Mangard Park, because, you know, hurlers the Camogie and the ladies footballers, that would be a great doubleheader as well.
Well, you'll get the 3 matches. You'll get the Camogie at 2:00. You'll get the ladies football at 4:30. If the chain could be changed, that would make sense actually to have it back. And then you have plenty of time to make it back into Newbridge for the Mead match in St. Conleth's Park. You're full day out with family. What more do you want?
Get out and promote it, lads. Get out and promote it, and you'll have big crowds there. Run a bus from Mangard Park to Cedar St. Conleth's Park, and no problem at all. But anyway, best of luck to Rob O'Neill and the Kildare Camogie team as they face Wicklow on Saturday at 2 p.m. We think it's in Auckland, but we'll wait for confirmation of that. Moving on.
Sorry, just before. Sorry, just very quickly, I know we mentioned them before, but just to mention the Skull Murrah Clane team, just when we're on Camogie as well.
That's right.
We had an email in from Hazel Mulligan, who was a former county player herself and a teacher now in the Clane School and a mentor with that team. They're preparing for an All-Ireland final next weekend on the 28th. They were still waiting confirmation of a venue, but I believe it's a Waterford opponent at Dungarvan School. So there's surely great excitement around Skull Murrah and Clane there, probably 10 days out before that final. So we maybe have a chat more about it next weekend. Just best of luck to that team in their preparations for that game on the weekend after next.
That sounds like a game ideal for SETU and Carlow.
Possibly.
Pat, before we move off Camogie as well, I did say, and I mentioned that the Kildare minor Camogie girls started their season last week as well in the All-Ireland A Shield Group 2 Round 1. I'm pretty sure I got that right. Lost by 5 points up in Antrim, but again, minor Camogie and Kildare is vitally important at the moment to keep that momentum and that line of players coming through. So we'll keep an eye on their results as well as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. We said last week we would have a look at the Junior Football Championship as it is to be in 2026. Tommy, you have it there, and you might just run through it.
Yeah, I'll run through quickly. We did speak about it on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but obviously Noel McKenna and the lads confirmed that this did pass through at the last county board meeting, which is great. So as I said the last time, the previous format was obviously we remember the two leagues, and then the top team in each league went to the semi-finals. The rest of them play off into quarterfinals, with the junior A finals. We saw a lot of imbalance in those divisions, in those leagues, too much at times. So this way is a way of maybe getting away from that a little bit. So 4 seeded teams, the same as the senior and intermediate. The 4 seeds are going to be the junior finalists last year and the 2 losing junior semi-finalists, and also the relegated intermediate team. So we have St. Kevin's, obviously, as relegated team, Rathcoffey as the team who lost the final, and then the 2 losing semi-finalists at Garvan and Kappa. When they're drawn out, they'll be, because there's 3 groups, so you'll have a seed drawn in 1, a seed drawn in 2, a seed drawn in 3, and then that 4th seed is going back into Group 1. So you don't want to be in Group 1, put that way. Group 1 is already looking like the group of death. So then when the next round comes around as well, you are going to have the top 3 teams are going to be going into the semi-finals, but there's going to be an open draw to see which 2 goes through. I said before that I don't really like that idea. I think if you finish on the top of a group, that you should get through on merit. I don't think you should rely on an open draw. It is what it is. Like this, they'll trial it this year. I do like the format. I like the amount of games that's involved in it. I like the Junior A Championship, which I'm a fan of, to be there as a fallback for the 3rd and 4th place teams. The explanation is that on the right. There's also another bit of a draw in that, where the 3 teams that finish 3rd go into a draw, and 2 are picked out to get a bye to the semi-finals, and 1 loses out. So that's twice we have that potluck. Maybe there's no way around it, because I know a lot of work went into preparing these championships. I just would hate to be the team that finishes top of Group 1, group of death, bursting yourself to get out of it, and then you have to play a quarter-final because you weren't picked out of a hat. So that's just my opinion on it. But listen, I like it. I think it's going to be really competitive games in it. And obviously the Junior A Championship is there. Yeah, Junior Championship's great. Can't wait for it to start.
That's definitely honours Matt stuff to decipher all of that. Richard, a quick comment?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think Tommy's covered it well there. I think the only thing that strikes me a little bit is, am I right in saying there's less games than there would have been, certainly in the 16 group last year, where they had 5 games. So, for junior teams, you might like them to be getting a few more games, but there is a quarter-final, I suppose, for those that play that. But yeah, I mean, it's I think it's hopefully it's as good a competition as it was the last couple of years, because it's really come on a ton, I think, in terms of the competitiveness of it.
Yeah, but it shows you by the way that Kildare teams have done so well when they go to Leinster as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right.
It was great. It was great last year, Pat, to see Kildangan back in the championship, and this year we're going to see Ribbon back in the championship. So that is good, because as everybody that follows the Kildare GA, the club game, you want every club competing at adult level, to some degree or another. And Ribbon is a proud club, and it's a great club. So it'd be great to have them back this year.
Are we expecting any transfers around clubs? What to do with the new suggestions about players who might be available or might be surplus to some teams could play at lower level? Any happening there?
That's just a suggestion, wasn't it? That was.
I thought it was more than that. It's to be looked at by the CCCCCCC.
It was spoken about Congress, yeah, but I'm not sure if it ever came in then afterwards or what way it went. But yeah, that was an interesting proposal and could have interesting ramifications if it is to come to pass.
Yeah. It's all to do with demographics and all of that, but that's another story. The first round of the pre-season competitions started last week. Not all games were played. The Aldrich Cup, Joe Cup, and Dowling Cup. Managers and you in a number of ones. You covered two of them in this week's paper. Jared Clane had a win over at Naas, and Athy had a win over Allenwood. I think all four teams had new managers, or have Allenwood the same manager? No, I think all four have new managers.
Yeah, certainly 3 of the 4 anyway. Yeah. But no, very much kind of changed teams. Certainly Athy and Clane, Naas, very very young lineups. Obviously missing a lot of their kind of regular first team players, and at this stage of the year, it's just about getting game time in. And I suppose the fixtures were severely hampered by the weather. We were looking to get any games played at all, and actually it's a testament to Athy that pitch that they have built. We call it their second pitch or their pitch at the back, but I was down there a couple of weeks ago as well for a schools game. It was an incredible pitch for the rain that's fallen. So that's by all accounts it was in great condition during the weekend again. So that's going to be a huge advantage to them going forward. But good to see the club games back in action, and hopefully more might be played this weekend if the weather stays good.
Round 2 takes place over this weekend and maybe early days of next week, and all the fixtures are in this week's Kildare Nationalist, and I'm sure they are on the Kildare GA website as well. Tommy, you're showing me something up?
Sorry, I've just that manager spreadsheet that I will have.
Very good.
In the graphic, but Mark Murnahan, of course, is over Allenwood.
That's right. Yeah, I thought that. All right. Yeah, so all 4 teams. Yeah, absolutely. So those matches are on this weekend. Just keep an eye out for the various social media channels as to whether they're taking place or not. Rugby, disappointment for Ireland last weekend, but
no, we did win. They did win.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying disappointing from a Kildare point of view last week. A lot of criticism of Kildare players, I was going to say, and that, so they won but got there. A big one now on Saturday against the old enemy in England, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot and all that.
Well, Jamie Osborne got over for a try, so I suppose
and a good one.
Kildare and Smiling, absolutely, and Jeremy Lockman obviously continues in the front row, but poor Sam Prendergast is still the kind of the lightning rod for obviously a lot of criticism. I'd say even by Sam probably would be the first to admit he didn't have a good game. He obviously missed 2 kind of very you would imagine for an international level place kicker, 2 very easy conversion attempts, but again, he did some good things as well, and again, kind of the criticism over the top as well. But he might struggle to hold on to his 10 jersey this week. Although I have to say again, that Jack Crowley seemed to get some praise in some quarters for helping Ireland turn the game around in the final quarter. I thought it was Jemison Gibson Park really who was the key man in Ireland's improved performance, and Crowley obviously had that late kick for the corner that somehow skewed out as well. So not
nobody mentioned it.
We didn't even see a replay.
No, but look, it wasn't Sam's best game, and actually, I said it last week. I think Keane was actually very hard done by to lose his place in the matchday squad as well.
Just about to say that, No, I thought he did very well. I thought he did very well against France away, and Keane, and I don't know why he was I suppose left off the 23 didn't seem the right decision to me, and hopefully he might get back there for Saturday, because he is a big player.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Tyke Bourne will surely come back into the starting 15, you would imagine, as well, for a big test in Twickenham.
Tyke needed a rest, and probably still needs a rest. I mean, he's done an awful lot of
Possibly,
rugby over the last number of years, including the Lions. And it's not. And every game he played he had an outstanding game and played for the 80 minutes or more. So there you are. The big local derby at the weekend, Ger, was Newbridge and Kildare, and the Bridge were the ones who came out on top.
And they've just had their local rivals number this year. I think is that the third or even the fourth win this year. I think taking into account pre-season competitions as well. So 36, 19, I think, in the end. So Newbridge clinging on to the outskirts of a promotion chase, probably just out of their reach now, and only a couple of games to go. But yeah, they'll have enjoyed, I suppose, the dominance that they've had over Kildare this year. Always a healthy rivalry between the two clubs. They're not too far away from each other at all. There's the crow flies with Newbridge out in Roseland as well. So they certainly would have enjoyed that. But some big games this weekend, particularly for the Tide in Division 1A, because it started to look like a straight shootout between themselves and Tullow to avoid that relegation playoff spot that comes with the second bottom place in that table. Both Athy and Tullow have home games this weekend. I think it's only 2 rounds to go, so Athy have a 2-point advantage over Tullow, so it's extremely tight down there, and any slip up at this stage of the season could see Athy drop into that relegation playoff, so they'll be very keen to get a win on the board this weekend. I think it's Sutonians they play.
Okay. Soccer, no luck on this particular occasion for Clonmullion, but better luck for Maynooth University today. They retained the Collingwood Cup.
Yeah, I was at that game last Friday evening, and it was dry, but it was absolutely bitterly cold. I got a kind of an inkling into what it was like for Tommy on the terrace side up in Brickfields Astro, where St. John Bosco play their games. Clonmullion very unlucky. They're out of their season. They only have had one competitive game since the end of November when they beat Evergreen. It probably tells that they didn't click in their attacking third at all, really. Certainly not in the opening 70 minutes. They conceded a scrappy goal from a corner after about 20 minutes. Probably fortunate not to be more than just a one down at halftime. St. John Bosco had a couple of opportunities, but they stuck at it. Kind of were only one down. They were waiting, I suppose, for one opportunity to fall to their star man, Cody Mulhall, and he got that chance after 70 minutes. It was a lovely ball in by the wing back, Jake McNichol, I think his name is, and drifted in over the two centre halves' heads. Cody killed it brilliantly on his chest, and I was right behind it. He just had a kind of an idiot toe poke shot, beat the goalkeeper, and you could just see it. I thought it was just going to go off the inside of the post and go in over the line, but it hit just the post, came back into play, and although actually a Clonmullion striker put the ball into the back of the net, he was in an offside position and it was ruled out. But Clonmullion, they had the last 20 minutes on top of Bosco, but just that equalising goal just would not come. So unfortunately, their Leinster dreams are over. But yeah, you mentioned Maynooth University there as well. Just this afternoon, they're down in Limerick defeating University of Limerick, who were going for a very unique treble, having won the Sigerson and Fitzgibbon Cups. They were looking to add the Collingwood Cup as well. They'd won that for their first time back in 2024. Maynooth won it last year. Both sides met in the semi-finals last year as well. But in the end, it was Maynooth won 2-0 today. And one of the goals scored by a Clane man, Taylor Mooney, an outstanding 25-yard free kick, a brilliant goal. So they were captained by Clane man Dean O'Shea. They had a couple of other Kildare men involved. Finn Cowper-Gray from Kilcullen, Swazi Irhu from Newbridge, and they're actually managed by James O'Callaghan as well, who people who were going to Kildare County games back in the day would have remembered him as a left full, a very, very good left full, and obviously as a superb manager in the Ladies National League with Peamount most recently, and now Shamrock Rovers.
Shamrock Rovers, that'd be interesting one. Interesting one.
Done a good job there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because he did a great job with Paymount, and unfortunately he hasn't been around for the last year or two. And ladies football, I suppose, or ladies soccer was all the poorer for it. Cathal McCarthy, what a turnaround for him.
Yeah. 12 months ago, the Valentine's Day in 25, he was on the bench for UCD in the opening game of the National League, First Division, a 3-0 defeat against Wexford. He didn't get on the pitch. Fast forward 12 months minus a day on the 14th of February, and he was in the Hull City team, charged with marking the likes of Pedro Neto, Estevao, Liam Delap, and Garnacho, and I think in a £150 million forward line there. And did a very good job. Obviously, Hull lost 4-0 in the end, but they kept it scoreless till late in the first half. And it's just another kind of milestone for Cathal McCarthy as he moves up through the ranks. And he's catching a lot of the eyes. I saw a lot of Hull City supporters talking about him on social media, and as we said, social media can be a tough place, especially if your team has lost 4-0, and yet still a lot of Hull supporters were very complimentary about Cathal McCarthy's performance, and he did very well indeed. And I think he was just happy the game was on a Friday as well. His family were over there, so it was fallen nicely for him on a couple of occasions that his family were able to be there, and he was actually back in Kildare then as well for Valentine's Day to spend that with his girlfriend as well, so that was very important to him as well. So busy man Cathal McCarthy, and his focus now will be on a promotion race with Hull are right there in the mix of that promotion race to get up to the Premier Division now.
Absolutely, and let's say congratulations also to Hayley Nolan from out Kilway, who has been included in the Republic of Ireland women's team for the 2 upcoming matches against France and Netherlands. And Hayley's had a battle injury and I suppose been left out of squads in the past, but she's back in there because she seems to be impressing Carla Ward, and she's certainly impressing it with Crystal Palace this year. And I think they've won 7 games out of 8 in the last few weeks or so. So well done to Hayley. And we'll have an interview with her online next week as well. So always willing and able to have a good chat. So congratulations to Hayley. Looking at basketball, then indeed, Ger, inconsistency seems to be the problem with Liffey Celtics this year. Another big defeat for them this weekend or last weekend.
Down the long trip down to Killarney, I suppose, was a tough one. St. Paul's and Killarney were top of the division there. There was an opportunity, I suppose, with a win to push on for a playoff place, but that probably looks to have evaporated now. They only scored 27 points in the second half, and in the end lost by 19 to St. Paul's. And they had obviously kind of bounced back the previous week with a good win, but their season looks like it's going to start winding down. Anya O'Connor scored 18 points and Soccer Tiernan with 10, but the American Destiny Bursch was top scorer with 19. But their season looks like it's just going to wind down now, probably out of the playoffs, but probably won't go down either. So probably nothing more than pride and with a night next year now for Liffey Celtics to play for.
Yeah, another boxing. We talked about boxing last week. Another boxer to look forward to. Another Kildare boxer is turning pro this weekend on Saturday night. Aidan Byrne from Kilcullen, who will box his first pro fight in the Finn Valley Centre against the Polish guy, Marian Wesolowski. I hope I got that correct, and all our Polish listeners will be happy with how I pronounce it. That's up in Finn Park. Finn Valley Centre. Well, right beside Finn Park in Ballybuffet. His mum comes from up there, so we've an interview with him on Friday online, and had a great chat with him on Wednesday evening, and looking forward to seeing that online. So this will be his first pro fight. Of course, he boxes out of the Unit 3, where Niall Barrett is in charge, and I have to say, Ger, Niles really turned them out. We obviously with Kelsey Leonard before that was Gary Cully, and the good news is that Gary will make a return to the ring. I think it's on the 14th.
I think today we're down in Cork. Unfortunately, there's a gang of lads coming from Moray area going up to watch it, but unfortunately we'll be down in Cork. So looking forward to seeing or hearing about Gary back in the ring anyway. But Aidan Byrne is an interesting guy as well. He's obviously spent his amateur career with the Cullen Boxing Club, and the fellas Cullen Boxing Club could not talk more highly of him. He's been in that club since a very young lad, and was winning national titles and stuff as a very young boxer in there. He's obviously progressed now and looking forward to having a professional career. And I think has Jason Quigley as his promoter, isn't it?
Jason Quigley,
as well. So
he's putting on that particular show on Friday night, and we'll do a review of that next week as well. And of course, the aforementioned Kelsey Leonard, she's out on the 4th of April, I think it is, an all-Irish bout. I think it's in the National Stadium. I think it's the first time ever there's been an all-Irish, what would you call it, title challenge or something like that. And we'll hear more about it in the coming weeks. But from a girl from Mayo, she's boxing her. So that interesting couple of weeks for boxers. And indeed, we'll have other news on that other boxer whose name I've forgotten. We covered last week the female
Sarah
boxer.
Murphy from Kildare Town. Yeah,
absolutely.
Are any of these boxing matches ever streamed?
Oh, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I know
quite a few of them. Quite a few of them are. Yeah, we'll have to check and see.
Did you mean legally or? Did you mean legally?
Oh yeah, they are. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know. I stumbled across boxing one night on TG Carter's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I didn't see any promotion for it at all anywhere, and I would have watched
No, in fact, I think it was one of Kelsey Leonard's fights in Belfast was on the TG Carr YouTube channel, as far as I can recall. But TG Carr, as usual, doing a great job on covering sports and in all sports. Indeed, they do very well. Last year was a decent year for Con McDunphy. Was it last year, Jeff, the cyclist from Kilcock, and he's back in action again? You looking forward to a big year?
He's moving on. Yeah, he was competing in Spain recently. Yeah, and he signed up for a new team. So he has big plans. That's just gone up on that interview that Stephen Leonard did with him. So, Kildare cyclist. Yeah, a nice picture of him there. And then the secondary picture on that is actually from very recently in Spain as well. So yeah, definitely. He finished second in Ross Talton a couple of years ago, didn't he? So he's a hugely talented and ambitious cyclist. So yeah, head over to the Kildare Nationalist website to read all that interview that Stephen did with him. It's a very good interview, revealing interview, and sets out his ambitions for the year.
Yeah, indeed. Athletics, what does Perry Williams do? I don't know. 2 pages again this week with loads of photographs as well, and huge coverage. Maya Roos did very well, a Leinster record for her.
Yeah, and Perry did a 2-page spread for us in Carlow as well from the same weekend as well. So she's done brilliantly there. So there was some fantastic performances from some of the youngsters. It was Maya Roos from St. Coco's, but a lot of Newbridge athletes did that well again, and we'll have that up online there tomorrow as well for the full report of Perry. There's about 20-30 athletes mentioned in it as well. So yeah, there's definitely, if you have any interest in athletics in Kildare, certainly it's well worth reading every week. Perry is always interesting, and the season is ramping up. I suppose the National Indoor Championships are on the weekend after next. So getting into the big stuff here in athletics as well.
Absolutely. And finally then, as far as I'm concerned, our good friend Barry Connell gearing up for Cheltenham, you might say, a double at Punchestown last weekend, and he keeps turning out the big winners, Barry.
Yeah, 40-1 winner there as well was one of them. So it would have been nice if you had Seamus wasn't on to tell us about that one last week, unfortunately. So, but yeah, he followed it up. So it was a 96-1 double, I think it was overall. So yeah, very nice for Barry, and obviously he has big hopes from Marine National in particular at the Cheltenham Festival next month, but has a couple of other good runners there too as well. I think he has one aimed at the Supreme Novices Hurdle in the very first race of the festival. So yeah, he is he's going very well at the moment as well, and hitting form at the right time of the year in terms of national hunt racing.
Yeah, was the late Michael O'Sullivan his jockey, wasn't he?
Yes, of course. Marine National was one.
That's what I thought.
Marine National was one.
So
and that's
Michael's first anniversary was this week. The late Michael O'Sullivan, and what a great prospect he was. And unfortunately, taken too soon. But that's
last year, just a month after he sadly passed away. Marine National, and then another horse who I can't quite remember, wasn't one of Barry Connell's, but Michael O'Sullivan had won on him previously as well, and the two horses won back-to-back races in Cheltenham, almost as if Michael was looking down. So he's certainly fondly remembered, and obviously he did a lot of riding out up here around Kildare as well, up around the court as well, and was heavily involved with Barry's stables too. So he was he's very sadly missed, but always remembered.
Absolutely. Richard, wrap up anything from your end. What's happening in the wilds of your world?
I had an awful feeling you were going to ask me for one of Seamus's tips there, but my only tip would be to keep your cash in your pockets. Well, I could go on for another hour and 30 minutes on Leeds United's battle against relegation if you wish, Pat, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. I think I did say only Kildare, but anyway, any Kildare representation apart from yourself involved with Leeds?
Not as well. Plenty on the terraces, but none on the team as far as I know.
Yeah. Tommy, you'll be on many terraces over the weekend. On Saturday night, you'll be in Cedars and Conless Park, and then you'll be in Cavan on Sunday.
It is a sports podcast, Pat. So live update: the Wolves have just got a 95th minute equaliser against Arsenal.
By the time this goes out, that'll be very much old news.
Well, at least we can show that we're getting the live. We know exactly. They know how late we're staying up, Pat. Put that way.
Did you do that legally? Did you do that legally?
Exactly. I'll definitely. Nearly sure I'll be in Cavan. I'm hoping to be in Newbridge Saturday evening, but I might not be able to go. But I will.
We don't want to know. We don't want to know. Yeah. Is that Shawnee Johnson? Is that Shawnee Johnson over your shoulder, Richard? Yeah. Is that Shawnee Johnson over your shoulder? No?
I was looking for. I was trying to link together the team of hurling, football, Kildare and Cavan, and somehow Shawnee Johnson came to mind. So yeah,
he was a famous dual player with Kildare, of course. He
Absolutely.
was.
Kyle Dublin legend.
That's it. Ger, it's going to be another busy week for you, paper-wise and commentary-wise and all of that.
Yes, yeah, I just trying to work out the logistics of probably going to that Camogie match on Saturday afternoon and then getting back to Newbridge. So that'll be my plan for Saturday, and then heading up to Cavan obviously on Sunday. Just to mention just as well, just what I think of it too, just in terms of soccer as well, there was a couple of other results I should have mentioned for soccer, because at High Town in the Leinster Senior League, they are getting closer and closer to a league title there again under Neil Barnaby. They are running away with their division. They had another away win last week. I think they have another away game this weekend. They might even have another away game the following weekend. They could be league champions before they play at home again. Newbridge Town had a good win as well in the Lumley O'Reilly Cup, 4-0 over Blackrock College, who I think were unbeaten in their division as well, but had a big win there in the Cup. So well done to Newbridge Town. And then, yeah, looking forward to next weekend is the return of the Underage League of Ireland season as well. So Club Kildare are out in action with 3 of their teams, I think, to kick off things this weekend. But yeah, that'll be back into full swing as well from this weekend and heading on now to for the rest of the season. There
you go. Just showing you there underneath Shea Given's gloves is a 1947 Cavan jersey. So just keeping the old fires burning there. Just
does it still fit you?
What?
Does it still fit you? It must have worn well.
That's a little bit worn. It's a little bit worn. We're still celebrating. Celebrating 1947.
Are you going to the match, Pat?
I'm not be going to the match because my daughter Justine gets married in September. There's a recce at the venue on Sunday, and I have been told that I have to be there or else, and I didn't want to check out what else would be. So unfortunately, I will be listening in on the way back up from that particular venue and see what.
And who will you be shouting for, Pat?
I'm a Cavan man and a Kildare supporter.
Fair enough. Diplomatic.
Very diplomatic.
Always been and always will be. And a Ballyhaise man and a Confi supporter. So there you go.
Fair play.
Is that all? Is that it, lads? Have you embarrassed me enough at this stage?
I think that's great. If people got this far, that's the little nugget. That's the reward for getting an hour and 42 minutes into it.
Was it last year you were supposed to have all the outtakes, and they never happened? But thankfully, because some of them were very out, and some of them where you could take them or leave them as well. Anyway, that's us for this week. And my thanks once again to Jerry McNally, to Tommy, and to Richard. And I'm Pat Costello. We look forward to talking to you next week. Good luck to everybody.